Hello everyone, welcome to the Lisa Burke Show. As always, thank you for tuning in on RTL Today Radio or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and of course you're probably watching us, if you are watching us, on RTL Play. Now, Luxembourg so far has not been known for the beauty industry, but my guest today, Henrietta Orosz, is a beauty entrepreneur, and we're going to talk about her journey and how she is bringing awards, very, very high accolades to Luxembourg. I know, along with Luca, the makeup artist. Henrietta, thank you so much for joining us in the studio, and we're going to talk about your journey as a beauty entrepreneur. So welcome.
Good morning, and thank you very much for having me here today with you. It's my pleasure.
Well, I mean, anybody who's watching me might notice that my eyelashes look very nice. Thank you, Henrietta. That is all of your work. A lot of people might listen and think, oh gosh, beauty, what does that matter? What does that mean? Why is the beauty industry important?
I believe beauty industry until today is really underestimated. As you say, people see only this surface beauty, in my opinion. But actually there is so much more in it. Like if we are in Luxembourg, I can already talk about the financial point, you know. Beauty industry is blooming. It's such a big business, first of all. But second of all, there is so much more behind it. So much more behind the surface beauty. Also me, in my job, I can use, psychology, communication, really contact to people. So, there's so much more in it than just applying lashes on someone or making someone beautiful on the surface. But you also take care of the well-being of the person.
Yeah, it is a moment of their self-care, as we say these days. And in fact, your background, apart from studying these things on top, is actually economics. You came to Luxembourg from Hungary for a completely different job.
Exactly. I think a lot of people can relate to that. I know many girls in my industry who came from business and management and finance. And actually, I never planned to end up in this industry. It's really strange, actually. And the thing is, I started my job as an economist. I was working in marketing, the boring 9-to-5 job. I'm sorry, I don't want to offend anyone. But I realized something during that time, that I was not made for that. And I was always a person who loved creativity. And I needed something where I can create and not being in a box doing the boring stuff.
And how did you find beauty as that place of creation for you?
Actually, the first point was myself. I didn't know how to do my makeup at all. So primarily, I wanted to go and learn how to do my own makeup. And that opened a whole new world to me. I was super interested in it. And actually, that's how I started being a professional makeup artist, So actually, I started things because of myself. And I did not know that this will bring me so much joy and pleasure in what I'm doing.
And then you branched out. And what was it that was the tipping point for you to flip into you becoming an entrepreneur, a solo independent worker, and you left that paid 9-to-5 job? Because that's the thing I think a lot of people find extremely hard to cut.
It is. You absolutely need courage. But I always say, one of the things I'm always saying, no risk, no fun. And I always tell people, don't take the chance away from you. Try, go, risk, try it. And if it doesn't work, you can always go back to your old job, to the security, But so many people don't want to leave it because it is kind of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
Being paid, it is not easy to be an entrepreneur and being an independent. It's super difficult, I must say. But I do get compensated because I do what I love. I don't have a boss. I manage my time how I want. But I always had in my head, if it doesn't work out, I always have a plan B. I can still go back to my regular job and
Yeah, you always have a plan B, which is what a lot of entrepreneurs say, and they talk about that too. So, starting as a professional makeup artist and then moving on to the world of eyelashes, which I'm quite sure a large proportion of my listeners and viewers might know very little about.
Exactly.
So, tell us about this industry and this burgeoning industry. It is an enormous industry.
It is. I must say, in Luxembourg, until now, it was really not popular. Like back in time when I started, I finished my first class in 2014. Back in time, in Eastern Europe, in Hungary, the industry was already, I can't say it was blooming, but it was already on the way, it was
In
popular.
development.
Exactly. But back in time in Luxembourg, no one knew about it, that it exists. And I think now, because, Luxembourg is also quite international, there are so many ladies here from all over the world. So you kind of bring this with you. So I think people already, it reached Luxembourg as well.
Yeah, and there are people here who have the money to spend on themselves and take care of themselves. That is a service provider industry, but you have made your business model such that you've broken through just being a service provider, and you have a lot of growth potential because right in front of you, first of all, let's talk about the award. That's quite a recent thing that you have there. So show us what this award is. You are one of the gold winners. Luxembourg brought back 2 gold winners, the other being Luca, a famous makeup artist here. And you also won this gold prize at a Dusseldorf beauty competition. Tell us first of all how important this competition is.
It is very important. First of all, this beauty expo, it happens all over the world. So if someone knows Cosmoprof or this beauty messa, it happens literally from Asia to Europe, everywhere. And it always brings together all the beauty professionals from all over the world. So there are like 10,000s of people visiting this expo. And actually, this was the first time they launched a lash competition. It was not a traditional competition where you could just pay and go. They had a pre-selection process. And actually, when they advertised it, I decided to apply. Why not? And when they selected me in top 10, I nearly refused to go. But at the end,
Why did you nearly refuse?
It's, it's quite interesting because the past years, I've been working as a lash judge.
A judge, yes.
Exactly.
So you were flipping from being a judge to being judged.
Exactly. And it is not because my ego can't accept it, but I felt weird, because you reach a certain level and then it felt like you're going back again. And in fact, I had to realize I was wrong because in fact, you don't go back, but for me, this was a confirmation about my job, what I'm doing, was a confirmation about my book, about my new technique, about everything. And, because I haven't been competing for 8 years before that. And it was, jumping into the deep water again and getting feedback about my work, because I see in my industry that some people, I don't have to mention names, but I think it's quite general thing. When you reach a certain level, you don't want to go back. You feel like you are the star. I don't need to prove myself. And actually now when I have to think about it, some of my clients told me, but why do you have to go to compete? We know that you are good. You don't need to prove yourself. And I said, well, I do, because I need confirmation for myself. What I'm doing is right. And also, this was really a big challenge because, as I mentioned, it was not a regular competition. There were like 10,000 of people walking around us, noise everywhere. So it was challenging, but I'm very proud of this because one thing, as you mentioned, I was born in Hungary, but I started my beauty business in Luxembourg. So whenever I'm going to judge a competition or when I'm going to a conference, I'm always representing Luxembourg. So when they ask me, where are you from? I always say Luxembourg. Well, I am Luxembourgish as well now, since a few years. But for me, this is out of question. Whenever I'm going somewhere, I'm representing Luxembourg. So it was quite nice to hear when I was standing on stage, people were saying, oh, we have a star from Luxembourg and they're representing. And that's why I think this is something very important also from Luca. If you are watching us, then hi, because we do put Luxembourg on the map of beauty.
Yeah.
And this is something new because no one knew Luxembourg. No one, I mean, about beauty, like.
Yeah, it's one of those industries that some people might look down on and think it's frivolous, it's not important. But as you said right at the top, there's so much psychology within that as well, because you are effectively changing how somebody feels about themselves. And that's not a small thing.
Exactly. Coming back to your sentence before about how someone becomes an innovator or a judge or someone from a simple beauty service provider, this kind of connects to your sentence before, because I do love working with my clients, and I think the two things complement each other really. And for me, this is important not only to have the practice still, but I love making people feel beautiful, to make them feel good. And actually, why is it also so underestimated, as we mentioned before? Because this is really a moment for yourself. And I think this is really important for our mental well-being. Mm-hmm. And I just love to be part of that.
Yeah, it is. It's all part of the mental well-being. And in fact, your choice to leave the first job, you came to Luxembourg, which was some marketing job, and to shift into being a solo entrepreneur, that was for your own mental well-being as well. And you are very strong and resilient. And I know that perhaps one of the reasons that you are strong and resilient and you can take risk, you do take risk, is you know the preciousness of life.
Exactly.
I know that when you were a teenager, you lost your mother to cancer, and I'm quite sure that changes how you think about how to live a life.
Exactly. I usually don't talk about this, not because I'm sensitive to it already. I mean, you learn to live with that. But I never thought that I have to mention this, because then, I didn't want people to feel sorry for me. And actually, as we discussed about this before, this is also a wrong setup, because actually it might help a lot of people who are in the same situation. So when something bad happens to you and you have no choice just to keep going, I think you can really use that in a good way and turn that pain into power. And that's the problem, that sometimes people, I don't know if it has something to do with your character. I think maybe a psychologist could answer that question. But I don't know if it's because of character or because of motivation or whatever it can be. But, people don't always choose it to turn it to power. Sometimes they just go down, And if I can help people with my story, I'm very happy. I can talk more about it later, but I always encourage people, turn the pain into power and just keep going. And
I think it makes you realize that life can be short. We don't always have a choice over the length of our life, even if we try to live a good life in whatever way that comes to us, and our choices. And when you are literally faced with that as a growing young adult, it might harness a different set of decisions within you. And that has meant that you do think differently. You are very strong, you're very innovative and creative, and also next to your award you have a book. So you're also an author, and this is with your new technology.
Exactly. This required courage as well. I have actually, it's quite humble what I will tell now, but I'm not doing things on purpose. I know people who do their lives and their achievements because they plan it. I will do that and that. In my life, until now, nothing happened on purpose. It was kind of accidentally. So literally, I can say I invented this new technology, and this was my training material for my students. And then one day I just woke up and I thought, okay, why not creating a book out of it and make it accessible for people worldwide? And actually, why I created this technology, I call it Curlex technology, by the way. Why I created it? It was the experience of the past years as a lash artist, as an educator, as a judge, because I've been judging the past few years, I think over thousands of works worldwide. I really got the chance to judge works from Japan, from Brazil, from everywhere. And I think maybe that's where the business mindset comes in, because you realize what are the things that are missing, where the problems are, and how can you solve that. And this book and this technology is based on that, on something that was missing from the industry, because so often, coming back again to being a service provider, you go to school, you learn how to do, it's not only about lashes, even a hairdresser, I think, or anyone, makeup artist, you go to school, you learn how to do the technique, how to do that service professionally. Of course, that's step one. But then you end up just being an executor, like you just execute that service, you don't start to think outside of the box. And
you're a human who is just mechanically doing what they've been taught.
Exactly. And I think people who are in this beauty industry, they might agree with me that because you start to, of course, you want to learn your profession. You want to be the best. You want to know everything about hair, about lashes, about anatomy, about everything. But then you lose your focus. You just focus on the lash, I know many lash artists, they only focus on the millimeter work, like how does it have to be applied, how does it have to look like, but they forget one very important thing. They forget the person who is underneath those lashes. So
they're choosing the minutiae of the work right in front of them rather than the larger picture and what is suiting the person. So it's the connectivity to the person, always to the person, ultimately the client.
Exactly. And that's actually what a lot of people forget. And that's why this is quite complex, when people say, that's why I can't call myself just a lash artist. Okay, my clients will look at this video and they say, oh, that's my lash artist. Yes, but there is much more behind that. And the thing is, it connects back again to psychology, because when a client comes to me, the first thing I do is not to start applying the lashes on her, but the first thing, when I haven't seen that person before, I want to know more about you. I want to know what are you doing? What are you working? What's your lifestyle? Are you doing sports? What are your hobbies? Do you wear makeup? And then we can come down, to anatomy. I will analyze your face, and then we will choose what suits you the best. And I think that is the problem that a lot of service providers, they forget, I think maybe hairdressers function the same. They just see a bunch of hair coming into the salon,
And not the face in front of it.
Exactly.
Not always. Yeah, that's true. You mentioned your female clients. Are there any men who do this?
Unfortunately, no. I say unfortunately because I would totally be open to that. But in Luxembourg, no.
In the world?
In the world, yes. In Hungary, I know many lash artists who work with male clients. You can really make it look suitable. But I think we are not yet at that level in Luxembourg, but it might come. Actually, on competitions, for example, there are now slowly male lash categories also.
Well, I think it's very exciting because, of course, it's an untapped 50% of the market.
Exactly.
So back to the book then. Why did you choose to put your training material in a book when, of course, what you're doing is very visual? You could have done it with videos, for instance.
I would say, if you by the way, this is a gift for you afterwards.
Thank you.
I'm happy to receive your feedback. This is not a traditional book where if a lash artist opens it, she will not learn how to apply lashes, This is more, there is more structure, methodology behind it. So anyone who is in this industry, who opens, this opens a whole new world in their head. So this is more theoretically how to think different, because this is the problem. And that's why this is perfect, for example, for people who are beginners in my industry. People who are more on an advanced level, this is my challenge currently. I launched this new technology and people don't know it yet, what it is about. And I always say people have to be open-minded to absorb this knowledge. And one more thing, why it is complicated to be innovative currently, it is because when you go and learn things at school, we learn by the book, and then comes someone like me after a few years and says, not to forget everything you have learned, but try to think differently. I'm putting another perspective on the whole thing. And I think this is very difficult to get the people out of their comfort zone.
Well, it comes back to people choosing to think differently and taking that risk because it's requiring them to think in a different way. So you do that. You are a judge, you're an educator, you have training camps as well.
Exactly.
And what we haven't mentioned is that you currently live in Spain. So Hungarian by birth. You live in a few different places.
Well, I'm between Spain and Luxembourg currently.
Yeah, and also going back to your homeland from time to time too.
Exactly.
So you wear many hats, which is a fascinating way to live and work. Also, why have you chosen this route, this mapping? I mean, it's very European.
Well, I lived fully in Luxembourg before, but this was always our dream. And coming back to dreams, actually, with everything, this was our dream with my husband, that one day we will live next to the sea, in sunshine and so on.
Which is not possible in Luxembourg. We don't have that.
Exactly. But on the other hand, I also did not want to give up my job here because this is something I've been working for that since years, and I just can't give it up. And we were always postponing that, I said, one day when we will get older. And then coming back to your thoughts before about how short life is and just go for your dreams,
And you did this and you found a place in Spain, which is no small thing either, wandering around and finding the right location. And you've managed to make it work with your work here, which is another very strong choice. And you continue to maintain the client base here. But with the training camps now, you do also have them in different places.
Well, this was the first time I have done it. It was actually last weekend. And I hosted the girls in Spain because I believe this is a perfect location for such a camp. And they really enjoyed it, as far as I know. I think they did. And, I can say it was not the last time I was doing it, but it requires a lot of strength. But I must say, I think I might have found my passion about organizing events. I really love it.
Well, again, you've just added another string to the bow, so to speak. You do many things, and as an entrepreneur, you have never stopped at just being a service provider. You've always been building. As a service provider, where it is just you, even if you love your work, you are doing the actual job, but there's the whole business side around that. There's the whole marketing side around that, the admin. So for anybody who wants to follow your path and be brave enough to follow that path, what sort of template could you suggest to them that they could think about emulating so that they put aside this amount of time for setup and admin, this amount of time for the creative, actual work, and then a bit of blue sky thinking, so to speak? How would you help them on their path?
That's a quite interesting thing because it sounds now, not rude, but that's the ugly truth. Not everyone is born to be an entrepreneur. Some people are perfect in what they are doing, but they just can't cope with all the tasks, because if people would see all the things I'm doing, they would already go crazy. As you mentioned, administrative work, the IT work, creating flyers, doing my accounting, being active on social media, being fully there for my clients. So this is not made for everyone. There are people who can perfectly execute their jobs, but they are rather meant to be just employees, not having to deal with the responsibilities, with the pressure, because they were just maybe not made for that. And that's nothing is wrong with that.
It takes a different part of your brain to cope with that.
Exactly. I think I'm a bit crazy. Sometimes I think I'm a bit crazy because I do love this. I do love that it's not boring. I always have something else to do, and still being fully into my clients, lashes, and all the things around.
And could you give us just an idea of how to compartmentalize time? Because I think one in your position has to be so focused on and diligent, rigorous almost in how you place your time, how you manage your time, particularly when you have a home in a different place also. So you're between countries, you're developing different series, you're writing books, you're doing competitions, you're judging. You have a lot of things pulling at you. How do you manage that?
I think you have to kind of prioritize things. So what I do personally, I kind of check my schedule and I see, okay, what's my next upcoming project? And then I prioritize them. And I think that's the way I'm not getting lost into details, because I know, okay, next, like for example, a week ago, I knew I have this camp for the girls. So that my focus went on that fully. When the competition came, I was focused on that. So I try to go step by step. But I must say, why I'm able to do so many things, this is also because of my kind of schedule with my job, because it was not an easy decision for me, but thank God my clients were quite flexible back in time when I decided to just work maybe, let's say now 1 week with clients and then being 2 weeks off. And people think, okay, oh, she's 2 weeks off, she has a paradise life. No, I still do work in those 2 weeks, but that's where I have time to do all my creative jobs, judging, teaching, doing the admin work, everything. So literally the week when I'm here with my clients, I just do that.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a very good way to structure a working life in a way, because you are bringing yourself away from everything that pulls you when you have a home in a different place, literally in a different place. And that's why a lot of people come to the office, so to speak, because at the office they can't be putting on a wash or making another cup of tea or having another biscuit or walking the dog or whatever it is that's pulling out of you. You are entirely focused on the clients, and then you go away. So in order to find the creative mindset to develop a new innovative method, as you have done, you mentioned that traveling around the world, being a judge, really impacted your thoughts there. Is there anything else that fuels your creativity?
I have to think about that for a moment. Well, I don't know. Actually, but that comes back in time from makeup artistry. I believe that. I kind of suppressed that in my mind back in time when I started doing lashes. I switched completely to lashes, and then this because when you do lashes, of course you make people beautiful, but that's not that kind of creativity. I enjoyed, I don't know, putting colors on people when I was doing makeup, for example. That's why now, for example, in this camp, I also had some creative programs for the girls, such as painting in sunset, because I think sometimes you just have to let your mind go. And I don't search for something specifically that fuels my creativity. I think, now I have it. I think you just have to open your mind and let it go. And what I always tell my students, actually, sometimes they're laughing about it. I always say, when we were children, we were painting, drawing, and we did not care. Does it look perfect? What's the outcome? You just sat down and you create it. And, by the time we grew up, we learned to live in boxes and according to rules. And all this creativity is just, well, it's not lost. It's still there in your head, but you're afraid to use it. You're afraid to live it. And that's why I find it very interesting when I observe people, when you just let's say you put a canvas in front of them and you say, okay, paint something. And they're like, well, what should I do? I can't paint. Well, you can. Just let your mind go. And I think that's the key. You should not search something. Maybe someone can search something that fuels creativity. But for me, I think creativity will flow automatically the moment you let go. The moment you let go the expectations, this rules actually, and just be yourself and just do it,
Yeah, which is why actually when I was talking about time management, I specifically said that time for creativity, that time for, I know Googlers have it, the blue sky thinking, to have that time where you can just be free, mentally free. But you are also right that with our current education system, mostly telling us, learn this, be examined, pass the test. If you don't fit into that box and that box is placed upon us as a scaffold for year after year after year, it is quite hard to break free of that. And I'm just openly wondering, how can we change an educational system to encourage that thinking, that open, innovative thinking? And actually also on the innovation, when you've travelled around the world, where have you found the most innovative beauty patches of the world?
I must say, technically in Eastern Europe, because back in time when I started learning in Eastern Europe, now I mentioned, for example, Ukraine, Moldavian and so on. So that part of Europe was really technically blooming. But of course, all the technology, all the tools are coming from Korea, from China, from that part of the world. So, the two worlds have to meet. So the technology from there and the skills from the other part of the world. So
yeah, so it's interesting again where the technology is coming from and where the human creativity is coming from, and just what it is about those countries that engenders that. That's what I'm really asking. What is it about Eastern Europe that allowed this to blossom?
I believe this is the background, the historical background, because people over there, they don't have an easy past, and then we come back again to our past and the things that happened to you. And I think we were just really raised that way, that you are really hardworking. That's what we have seen from our parents. And it's just, there is no shortcut, like either you do it perfect or you don't do anything. And we kind of grew up in that. And I think this is what makes a difference, because I think we will talk about it also later as well, about products and things. But I see this in my environment. People in Europe, like my colleagues in Europe, are judging colleagues, for example, in South America or that part of the world, because they say, oh, their quality of work is not perfect, or the lashes look messy, or it's not nice, And I think it's just because of not a mentality, but they have different type of mindset. Different culture, different mindset. Maybe people will judge me, but I don't say things don't have to look perfect there, but they just have a total different approach of lashes, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And then coming to products, this is another thing that you've developed. You are actually developing your own product line as well.
Exactly.
And so where will you get that product from? First of all, where did you come to the idea? Again, I think it was influenced by looking at South America, looking at different parts of the world. So you have this global perspective, which came from being brilliant at what you do, being an international judge, winning your own competitions, being highly respected and an educator. So all of that meant that you could judge. That meant that you could travel around the world. That meant that you've observed all of the different practices around the world. And now you're going to produce your own product line.
Exactly. The idea came already a few years ago, but I must be very honest. And this is something where I've been always careful. I never had my own products because I know I can do many things, but that is a total different world. Like product, as a production, marketing, logistics. This is like, that requires a full person or a team behind it, And I think I can do a lot, but I'm not ready for that. So actually, this is the first time I'm talking about it publicly. I've been asked by one of the most famous lash companies in Hungary to launch a product line, a collaboration, and we are doing that. And as you mentioned about seeing different parts of the world and so on, and also my new technology, this has brought the idea launching that specific product line, because this is not yet available in Europe. And actually, this was again something that for me it was missing, because here in Europe, that's again a minus. Here in Europe, we were used to such and such. I will not bore people now with the technical details, but you had a limited choice of curls, for example, and then you had to work from that. And in my head, I don't like, I've been always a person like that. I don't like when I'm limited. I want to use everything. And that's the way we thought about launching those products, because only because we don't know it, it doesn't mean that it's bad. People just have to learn to work with it. And I think this is part of the business. You cannot avoid, like, new technology and new things will come into the industry, but people have to be open-minded and trust and try those things. So
I think we should actually say to anybody, and gentlemen, if you're still listening, I hope that maybe one of you can be brave enough to go to wonderful Henrietta and try this out, because at the very least, you will get a wonderful meditative hour or two. But tell us exactly what it is that you do. What is the actual process? Because it's extremely precise, and my God, do you need good eyesight?
yes, you do. You need good eyesight. You need patience. You need calm hands. I think those are the three most important things that we need technically as a lash artist.
And you need to be able to see what will suit a person's face.
Exactly. You need a certain sensitivity to people as well, I think, because I think this industry, lash industry, is quite different than, for example, hairdressing, because we do, for example, I'm literally in your aura when I'm working. I'm so close to the person. And this is exactly what makes a difference, because, for example, a hairdresser is standing behind you, goes away, leaves you alone until the products are working. Well, I'm there with you the whole time. And actually, we talked about it before, about why people feel so relaxed when they come to me. It is not only because of my personality, but also because psychologically, if you think about it, you have constantly 24 hours, or at least until you don't go to sleep, you have visual impacts the whole time.
Yeah.
And
everything is coming at us, and it's even worse with phones.
Exactly.
It doesn't stop. The brain is overloaded.
Exactly. And especially nowadays in the world of social media, when we are just scrolling on the phone. So it's really not even just the world out there, but even now, when we think about it, we go to bed and we scroll on our phone. So literally, until the moment you fall asleep, you have these visual inputs. And then imagine you come to me in the salon, and then you don't have another choice just to lie down. You have to close your eyes. You have to keep your eyes closed. And I think this is the way you can really go down to Zen and meditate, because you are forced to keep your eyes closed and just to be present, enjoy the moment, let go. You know, you can't answer your phone. You cannot scroll on your phone. I did have clients who ask me sometimes, like, can I check my phone? Like, can I keep one eye open? And then, so you are forced to shut down, literally. And I think that's what brings you into this state of this peace and meditation, I would say.
Yeah, it's a state of peace and meditation. And then you're literally working hair by hair by hair by hair.
Exactly.
And I can also imagine that for people who have issues with eyelashes, it sounds like a small thing, but in fact, it really is not a small thing. A person with no eyelashes, which can happen for various medical reasons, you can change their life.
About that, I have to disagree. I can. If they have lost everything, then I can't, because, you know, we do work with hair.
Yeah.
If they have a small amount of hair, I can already work with that, but they do need to have some sort of...
Because literally you're working hair by hair.
Exactly.
And you're attaching more to that hair.
Exactly.
It's almost like extensions.
It is. It is. The thing is why people are sometimes still scared of this process, because they hear extensions and they automatically connect it to something unnatural, something fake looking, you know. I must agree in a way, because there are horrible works out there sometimes that look really fake, but it does not have to look fake. I have many clients who love to be natural, and we can still make it look natural without looking fake, but still it saves them enormous time in the morning because they don't have to apply mascara. You are basically ready to go. So lash extensions, this is called lash extensions, but it doesn't mean that they look fake.
No, absolutely. And again, you're always working to the client. So then for anybody who wants to make that flip into a creative industry, in this case, the beauty industry, what are the steps they need to consider? And within that changing mode, marketing is massive. I mean, you had this background, but they need to know how to market themselves and be comfortable with that too.
Exactly. Unfortunately, it is unavoidable nowadays. I'm very honest. I also use social media. Okay, building my clientele, I did not need social media back in time because, I always say my clients are my business cards. When they walk out there, someone will stop them. They will ask, okay, where do you do your lashes? So in that sense, no. But for the rest, for education, for competitions, for being a judge, you do need social media and you have to show yourself. But one thing, I'm one of these retro artists or entrepreneurs in the sense I still believe that only producing content will not put you out there. It will not save you. You have to be special. I always say that. And that's what I always tell my students that, for example, imagine you open Instagram and you start scrolling. We have a massive amount of information coming into our eyes. And if everyone is posting the same pattern, the same things, it will be boring. I will just swipe through until the moment when something eye-catching will appear or something colorful or something special. And that's the moment how people will recognize you. And that's how they recognized me back in time. And I think one more important thing, if you want to be internationally recognized, of course, you can't avoid at some level. Of course, you have to go learn the profession, you learn technically how to do the things, but you do have to showcase your skills, meaning like you will have to go to competitions. You will have to, post your things, do creative works, try to get in touch with some industry magazines, because that's a great platform to get people know you and your work. But I believe that still creativity and something eye-catching is necessary.
And I think what you've also discussed really is the fact that even though the beauty industry in some capacities is highly saturated and it's extremely hard to break through in some parts of the beauty industry, you have found such a specific niche and you have made it your own and you've become this global superstar in it. Do you think it's also a safe option to become quite niche?
I think it is. It's not an easy way. I mean, you have to take the risk in a way because I'm in that level at the moment. You don't do the traditional things. So you really need, you need courage and patience and just trust yourself. And I believe that sooner or later people recognize that, And actually, for me, it's again quite an interesting thing. I never did things because I have to, or I never wanted to. That was also my rebellious character back in time and until today, actually. I don't like to be in the queue between other people, And I'm that rebellious. If I see, literally a queue of lash artists doing the same thing, I don't want to be there. I want to do something different. And actually, that's why I switched just from educating people. I was trying to, and I think that's the moment you start to become an innovator, when you start questioning, like, why are things working this way? I don't want to do it this way. And that has brought me to this niche, actually. So it was not on purpose, sitting down and thinking, okay, what can I do or what's missing? But wanting to be different and starting to see from all the experience what's missing, where the problems are, how can I help people, how can I help other artists to be better if they want to be helped. Because some people say, okay, no, I'm fine like that. I just work with clients or I just educate students and that's fine for me.
And then for people who again, don't know you and they don't know about this industry at all, when they meet you and you say, I'm a lash artist, I'm a beauty entrepreneur, do you feel that you're taken seriously?
No. That's a very good question. It is still until today. That's why I'm trying to define what am I. And that's why I'm calling myself rather an entrepreneur. If you tell people, oh, I'm a lash artist, then they're like, okay, she's just something not serious, you know. And I've been judged for that, especially in Luxembourg. I must say, I've been judged several times in Luxembourg for that. When you meet people, you introduce yourself. First thing they ask, okay, what are you working? What's your job? And then you meet someone who works in a bank or is a teacher. And then you say, oh, I'm a lash artist. And then automatically they put you down. I mean, you are not on the same level anymore, you know. So I think it's quite hard. And I don't say that it's only in Luxembourg, but I think here we feel it more because the country is much smaller. It's more business oriented. And I think that's why we feel it more here. But I think if I ask colleagues from another field like makeup artists or hairdressers, you know, it is still, I wouldn't say it's a respected job, you know. Of course, our clients, students respect us, but people, for example, who work in finance, they look at us like, oh my God, you are just something, I don't know.
And yet we do know that in the beauty industry, people can make it a highly successful profession and they can develop their own products. I mean, we can see it on many examples of many superstars who develop their own line of products and go on to make more money from the products than what they originally set out to do.
Exactly. And this is what I always say. I don't say you will get super rich, of course, from beauty industry. But, you know, I always say at the end of the story, let's see who is happier in life, you know. Me, who can do whatever I want and I can live my passion. Even though I'm working until late, I'm super happy. I love what I'm doing versus someone who's maybe working in finance and super depressive and super unhappy. And, you know, and they work for someone else. I work for myself and for people, I mean, to make clients beautiful. And I think that's what matters for me.
Well, Henrietta, it's been a joy to speak with you in this way. It's always lovely to see you. Have you any final words of wisdom for people to make that step, whether it be as an entrepreneur or a beauty entrepreneur? What do you feel is missing out there in the beauty landscape of Luxembourg, where there's space to become an entrepreneur?
I think if we specifically concentrate on Luxembourg, I think they are afraid because sometimes they only think about what is sellable for clients, you know. They don't think in a bigger scale. They don't think internationally. They think, okay, I have to adapt my services to the people in Luxembourg. And they are afraid of being judged, for example. And I would recommend people in general, not only people in beauty industry, but anyone, don't be afraid, be creative, try to live your passion and take the risks. You can't lose anything. And if something goes wrong, you always have a plan B. So I always encourage people to get out of their comfort zones. And I think this is in general, globally, not only in Luxembourg and not only in beauty industry, people are afraid to get out of the comfort zone. And this is what blocks them from doing amazing things.
Thank you very much, Henrietta, and we wish you the very best of luck with future competitions, with the global patter of all of these new products that you're going to launch on the market. So congratulations on that as well. And it's wonderful that we have you based here in Luxembourg. And if there are any brave men out there, I can tell you, you will have a wonderful, wonderful time on Henrietta's couch.
Thank you very much.
It's really, really lovely to hear about an industry that is, as you said, sometimes not taken seriously, overlooked or looked down on even sometimes. And actually, it's a very serious business industry, and it's one there for the taking for those brave enough to do it. Thank you, Henrietta.
Thank you very much.